everyone at the government center, are you ready on your end? Okay, well, let's go ahead and get the meeting started. Okay, I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Property Committee for Thursday, February 4th, 2021. Looks like members present. We have member, our Vice Chairwoman Woolrab, member Wachinski, member Smith, and member Thompson, and member Wint, and myself. First order of business after roll call attendance, item number 2 on the agenda. This is we combined 2 things together to help keep our roll call votes to a minimum as much as possible. So item number 2, approval of January 7, 2021 regular minutes and recommendation to the board for the paying of bills and transfers, which has been reviewed and approved by the auditor, and would entertain a motion from anyone on the committee who'd like to take those together. Motion from member Smith, the second. Second from member Thompson. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Morlock, please call the roll. The chair will vote.
Thank you. Member Woolrab.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Wint.
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
Member Thompson.
Yes.
Member Wachinski.
Yes.
Chairman Barnett.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3, appearance by members of the public. Staff tells me that we have no members of the public to appear here this evening. So let's roll on to item number 4, departmental matters. 4.1a under Parks and Recreation. Mr. Steffa, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
First item for action underneath your section of the agenda is 4A1A, request approval of an ordinance by McLean County Board amending Chapter 205 fees, Article 11 miscellaneous code fees in the McLean County Code, which is on pages 4 through 6 within the packet. Mr. Steffa would welcome you to enlighten us about this action item.
Thank you. Every couple of years, we do a fee analysis of local, departmental agencies around the area. We normally look at Dawson Lake and Clinton Lake, Weldon Springs, and Vermilion County Conservation District to see what they're doing with their fees. Vermilion County Conservation District, I just found out a couple weeks ago, is no longer having boat rentals there. So they didn't give me a reason why, but they were one of them that we used to compare fees with. So I usually have 3 different agencies that I do compare fees to, but the fees that I would like to raise are the paddle boat, the canoes, kayaks, and paddle boards, and the rowboat without a gas motor. And I apologize, I should have had a comparison chart in with the attachments. I apologize for that, but I can tell you that we are still below Dawson Lake's fees by several dollars, and we're still below Clinton Lake and Weldon Springs fees with this increase. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions from the committee? Come on. Okay. All right. Well, if that's the case, I guess I'd entertain a motion from the committee. A motion by member Smith to approve, I'm assuming, right? Second by member Wachinski. Any questions or discussion about the motion? Okay, hearing none, Ms. Morlock, please call the roll. The chair will vote.
Member Woolrab.
Yes.
Member Wint.
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Wachinski,
Yes.
Chairman Burnett.
No. All right, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is 4A 1B, which is request approval of an extension of leave of absence, which was distributed under separate cover. Mr. Steffa, back to you, sir.
Yeah, the park director respectfully brings a request to extend an unpaid leave of absence for a full-time employee. This employee has exhausted all of his FMLA. I would consider him a very valuable member of our team out here at the park. Therefore, I would request the FMLA extension.
Okay. Well, at this point, we basically have two options. We could either take a motion from the committee to approve this request right at the bat, or if the committee would like to discuss it, we would need to go I'd take a motion from the committee to go into closed session. Vice Chairwoman Woolrab, like to make a motion?
I'm not sure where to go with this. What I want to do is not discuss this particular instance, but the process in general. So I don't think we need to go into closed session for that, but if somebody else wants to, that's fine.
Yeah, if you just want to talk about the process that we go through, I don't have an issue with just discussing that unless Administrator Rodriguez or Mr. Spanos disagrees, since we're not discussing this specific case.
To me, this, if I may, Chairman Barnett, it
Please.
would be fine to answer process or policy questions without specifically discussing this employee. Unless Mr. Spanos disagrees with me. He's giving me the thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
That's
Okay. All right. Vice Chairwoman Woolrab, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We had this situation with another employee a month or two ago, maybe it was, in another meeting. And I raised the same concern at the time then in the same way, that we have these from time to time and we're voting on them. And I don't recall one where we denied one, but it seemed to me, and I think there was some agreement around that table at the time, that virtual table, that we really ought to make a policy about having these extensions, that if someone sends out an FMLA after, I guess it would normally be 12 weeks, maybe we automatically, for example, whatever is appropriate, 1 month extension, see if they can come back, rather than anecdotally doing this from time to time. My concern is, what is the basis that we're making our judgments on, and how do they differ, and whether we're getting into comparative, possibly problematic issues with doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, Administrator Rodriguez, did you want to respond back to that?
I'd be happy to respond. I think Member Woolrab and Chairman Barnett and I talk about this often, not directly related to this particular issue, but personnel in general, and Chapter 108 of the McLean County Code, which is a code. We have lots of work to do, I think, to update that particular portion of our code. It often isn't agile enough. I think there's been several times, Member Woolrab, even during the pandemic, when county administration has had to come to the board to change the work from home policy or to change the accrual limits on vacation. And in these particular instances, we've been working to be cognizant of employee needs. We take into account certain factors, and we try to be equitable in all that we bring to this board, but I am not allowed to extend anyone's leave of absence beyond the FMLA that is if in fact the employee was approved for FMLA. So I'm just in a spot where until we change our policy to allow perhaps the county administrator's office to make those decisions, we're going to have to bring it to the board. So we're proud to follow policy. And we're also very interested in rolling up our sleeves to rewrite policy. It's going to be a huge endeavor. And probably this is the first time I'm saying this for the record. I don't think Chairman Barnett will be surprised. We have to decide, are we going to pull that entire Chapter 108 out at one time and rewrite the entirety of it? Because it is difficult to take out pieces of it. Sometimes there's a domino effect, or sometimes if you change one piece, it affects another piece in another part of the chapter. So without boring the public or the membership about this, this one particular issue has come up in multiple other committee meetings because other departments experience the same challenge. And we're really interested in dealing with this, but we haven't yet decided how we'll approach the entire board. Do we pull out the entire chapter and code and rewrite it all at once? How does that work? And would we, have the support of the board to do that? We don't exactly know. We haven't asked to yet, but we know we need to come up with a plan on how to address multiple issues with inside Chapter 108 of the McLean County Code.
Yeah, I guess I'll openly share my opinion. This I don't know why things like this are brought to the committee. I mean, this is a human resource issue. I guess I could see a circumstance in which appeals to staff decisions maybe can be brought to the committee, but I mean, something like this, I have no idea why we vote on these things. This seems like an antiquated process for a county that is significantly smaller than McLean County is now. And when eventually we get to the point where it comes forward to the rules committee, I certainly would speak in favor of stripping this out of code. I mean, this is something that, the human resources professionals that we employ should be making these decisions on, not us who get a snapshot of them as they come forward. But that's Josh's opinion. So any other general discussions at all? Okay, all right. So again, I guess we go back to our original where we started at. We have two options that are available to us. We can, if someone wants to make a motion to pass this, we can do that. Or option two, if we want to discuss this particular case in detail, we can go into closed session. So I would entertain either one of those from the committee. Member Smith.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Member Smith, a second from Member Wachynski. Thank you. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Very good. Hearing none, Ms. Morlock, please call the roll. The chair will vote.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Bloomfield, I'm sorry, Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Wachynski,
Yes.
Chairman Barnett.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes. All right, moving on to items for information. Mr. Steffa, anything you'd like to enlighten us with from your general report?
The only other thing I'd like to mention is just a general report of what we've been doing out at the park. We're waiting patiently for dock parts to come in. Didn't know those would be such a hassle to get, but the supplier that we normally get those from is from Winona, Illinois. They're running about anywhere from a month to 2 months behind on orders. So once those floats come in, that will be a number one priority in getting those done. What we've done is basically we moved from styrofoam floats to they're called bladder floats. They allow us to leave the docks in over the winter, thus not having to take 2 or 3 days and 2 or 3 staff members to put them in or take them out, twice a year. So they are obviously going to be a little bit more, but not much. So we are waiting for those. Other than that, we're still picking up debris from the January 1st ice storm on trails. This last little ice storm we had didn't help us any. I think weakened limbs and trees that were affected by the January 1st storm. Some more limbs came down, so we're still picking up limbs and trees. So we'll keep on doing that until we get that cleaned up. Other than that, we have we're still cutting up ash trees for firewood. We still haven't gotten rid of all the ash trees out here at the park yet. Obviously, we could probably be doing that for another 100 years and not get rid of them all. So, but it is, I mean, on the positive side, we do get firewood out of that we sell to the campers. So that's a plus. Other than that, I'm starting to work on an RFP for the sewage treatment lagoon. Hopefully I'll get that done. I'm hoping to get that done by tomorrow afternoon. Other than that, we're just ordering equipment and supplies, hoping for warmer weather sooner than later. Other than that, I don't have anything else for you. I would be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Steffa? All right, Mr. Steffa, thank you so much for being here this evening and delivering your report to us.
Thank you all.
Next up on the agenda is 4B, our Facilities Management Director, Mr. Doherty. Welcome, sir. No items for action tonight, but I know you have a thorough report, as always, that you want to step through with us. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chairman and members. I'll just go through this as quickly as I can. The animal shelter, we've just been addressing routine maintenance items out there. The second bullet item is during the initial ice storm we had, I realized that the animal shelter had a portable generator and 3 extension cords to plug into the 3 furnaces out there. And that was their power backup system. The generator hadn't been used for quite a while, but their own staff was able to get it started. And lo and behold, that same evening, about 6 o'clock, I got a call and they had a power outage and they had to implement the generator. So that's only keeping the heat on and keeping the building from freezing. So I've offered a recommendation that we consider, the board considers a fixed automatic standby generator. If we're going to stay in that facility, that could do a little bit more. This incident was after hours, as I mentioned, but there's always the what if it happened during the day. You know, what other items could be essentially as supported by a standby generator.
So, Mr. Doherty, could I interrupt you for just a quick moment?
Absolutely.
So, so if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we've got an ice storm going through or something, and we lose power out there, one of the, either is it someone from your staff or someone from animal control has to get up and drive out and get the generator going. And how do you guys, I mean, that's kind of away from everything, is how do you know if it loses power out there to even go out?
Well, on this particular incident, Ms. Thompson was out there herself after hours, and she was the one that notified me. And we have really never planned for this kind of an outage at that facility. It's something that I probably ought to have some trial there, some practice runs with my staff on. It's a very good question. She was able to contact her person that had been starting the generator that afternoon, and that individual came out and got them hooked up, and about the time he got it hooked up, the power came back on. So it was just luck of the draw that she was there, and they were able to maintain this themselves. I did offer to come myself or send my on-call person.
Thank you.
Government Center, we just routine items again. We did a few months ago, I'd asked for monies to replace this audio card on the fire alarm system. That is now complete. And then we've completed some minor tasks for our new tenants, the City of Bloomington administration. Health Department, Kone elevator detected some unusual noises from a motor drive on the new elevators, and they replaced the motor successfully back at the end of January with a brand new one. All this was covered under warranty, so there's no expense to the county. Jail Annex, we had a second new boiler fail. The installing contractor hadn't responded to the first one that had failed for over a year, and lo and behold, we had our second one. The issue here is the burners. They are a basket, a wire mesh basket, and when they get contaminated with dirt, the dirt adheres to the basket, blocking off the gas supply, and basically you got a small explosion in your hands. So the good news is the parts were received today, and boiler mechanics are supposed to be in here tomorrow morning to help put those two boilers back together. We did do a hydrostatic pressure test on the two that are down right now, and they've passed so far. So once we get some fire on them, we'll hope for the best. The whole issue was misapplication of the installation. These particular boilers are supposed to have a filter box installed, and per the instructions, the filter box was shipped loose with each boiler. So I have no idea what happened to these during the construction process, but they were not installed on the boiler. We will install them with contractor I've chosen to get this project turned around. So hopefully I don't have any more bad news, and we will. There's 6 boilers in total, new jail annex, and as soon as we get the 2 that have suffered problems, we're going to go through the other 4 to assure that their reliability is intact. Moving on, the Juvenile Detention Center, just a small thing there. We've been fighting for quite a while. I was very proud of my staff. They found a frayed wire inside of a metal door channel of all places. And this is a common door that's used every day. It's right outside the control room. So I'll do a little bragging about that one. I was tickled that we found it. Law and Justice Center, lobby elevator that's been down since last summer has all been completed, all the repairs, and is now back in service. We've had as usual, we have a lot of sewage block ups in the jail. They always seem to happen on the weekends. Keeps our job exciting. Metcom staff has repurposed a couple of their small offices that were just off to the east side of the main operating room, and it caused us a little bit of problems with our air conditioner. It was sized in capacity for those 3 offices, and when they took 2 of them off, it caused some problems. So we've had to spend a little bit of money to get the ductwork reconfigured to balance the size of the air conditioner with the new load. Museum. We did complete the installation of all the contactors that Mr. Coos had brought to this committee back last summer. So that's all completed. We did have findings of burnt switch, and that's in figure 4 of the photos. Was a good find by my staff, and we were just so happened we had a spare one on hand. We were able to replace the entire switch. The next bullet item, we had a false alarm on the fire alarm system a couple weekends ago and brought up a lot of things to be reconsidered. One was the monitoring service gave us a bogus zone, number 64, and there's only 6 zones to begin with. So I've had Simplex staff on board this week, and supposedly that will get resolved. The other issue was getting around the museum's own burglar alarm system, and that's being resolved too. They're going to give us an access code of our own so that we can enter the facility. The Knoxbox keys, that's been another issue. I know under former management at the museum, they had the building rekeyed, and I just happened to recall this and ask what keys are in that box. So if we truly do have a fire, what's in the box? So the museum staff is heading that up with the Bloomington Fire Department. I don't have anything to report to you on the roofing project. I think the administration does, perhaps. And I'll just move on to the next item is personnel. Have had some luck. I've recruited 2 new employees. So one of them started today and the next one in the 16th. So vehicles, we've had a couple small repairs to snow moving tractors, nothing earth shattering. And of course, I wanted to keep reminding everybody about storage. So,
Yeah. Very good. Any questions for Mr. Doherty? Let's see. I think I saw Member Smith's hand go up just a moment earlier. So, Member Smith, the floor is yours.
Yeah, my question is about the positions filled. You filled 2 and you still have 3 open, or now 1's open?
I have filled 2 and there's 2 positions open. We had 4 total.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chairwoman Woolrab.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Doherty, I'm listening to the litany of things that you're dealing with is shocking to me. I'm new to this committee, but I'm concerned at the moment about those elevators, that we would have problems with 2 different elevators. Is that, and I know that elevators are supposed to get inspected, I think it's annually. Are those problems that should have been caught or could have been caught in an inspection? And do you know what happened there? If not, and is this a situation for whatever reason where perhaps we should inspect our elevators more frequently?
Good questions. Let's talk about the health department elevator. The mechanics and the electrical controls were all new. This was just an opinion of the Kone maintenance technician that the motor did not sound correct to him in comparison with the similar elevator in the same equipment room. So I didn't question his professional opinion, went along with it, especially after I found out that it was all covered under warranty. As far as the Law and Justice elevator, that one has me in a bit of a dilemma. That incident occurred just within a day and a half, maybe 2 days at the very most, after the inspection and load test. As most of you know, my office is just down the hall from those elevators, and I did hear a crash that day, and I asked the elevator technicians about it, and during the load test, which is like 150% over the rated capacity of the elevator got away from them and it crashed. So I'm in discussions with Kone right now as far as the invoice, and if it's fair to bill the county at 100% of that invoice. I'm trying to get them to man up and take some responsibility for that. To answer your question, broad scope, Kone is in here. They have regular maintenance that they do on all of our conveyances. I don't know what the frequency is. I think it's every couple weeks. They try to visit every elevator. And in between times, we have doors that hang up and such as that, and they're called to come in. And if there's anything else in particular, they address it right then and there. So I'm happy with their service. They've been responsive. It's not always the most timely feature. I mean, it's a little bit a tarnished issue that this elevator took so long to repair, but I was told it's the age of the elevator at the L&J that parts were no longer available, and they basically had to go out and get the parts machined, some of the parts. So that addresses your question.
Yeah, but not my concern, I guess, because
Okay.
we had elevator problems, serious elevator problems before. And I'm really concerned about this. And what you just said was frightening. Do we need to, or maybe we have already, I'm sorry, budget for a new elevator? I mean, this sounds like a serious situation to me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we put a new drive in one of those two elevators. I don't know if it's this particular one. That sewed up the motor drive, and it was a very expensive proposition. I think it was upwards of $45,000, $50,000. As far as the shivs and the cables and all that, that's what's inspected annually. I mean, if we wanted to, I don't think there's anything that's holding us back other than money to have them inspected at a more frequent level. Maybe we go semi-annual or something like that. But by state laws, they are required to be inspected by a third party annually, and the certificate is posted in the car.
Right. And I think we should, well, we had a discussion in finance yesterday about, we heard about our liability insurance cost, and it was directly, we had a lot of increases for different reasons, which some of them I will address in a minute, but some of it has to do with our previous losses, and I guess, I mean, let alone human pain and suffering that might go along with it. I'm very concerned, that we don't have another incident like that with our elevator. And so, I mean, I hate to think we're, duct taping an elevator, to use a phrase, not literally, but how do we, I guess I would want a recommendation from somebody, maybe you, Mr. Doherty, about, what is the smart way to go on this? Not the cheapest way, but the smart way to go.
One thing comes to mind. I know we've had a long relationship with Kone, but possibly you want to entertain taking bids from another company, get another set of eyes on these things as a when the anniversary date comes up for the inspection and all. Granted, my staff does not do anything from the elevators due to the county policies. We just report issues. If there's an entrapment, that's another thing I have to analyze, the security of the car, and then whether we attempt to free the person where the car is at between floors, and it's absolutely no, we're not even going to attempt to. But yeah, you bring up a lot of good points. That's the only suggestion that comes to my mind right now, is we have another company involved. I think these people they're licensed professionals. That's their bread and butter, is conveyances. So it is a shared liability with them, of course, to do their job and maintain the safety of these elevators.
I guess I'd ask anybody else, do you have opinion about this, and this is of the many things we have. An elevator is not only important, but could, as we know, could potentially cause a great deal of harm if it malfunctions.
Member Thompson, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, thank you. What is the cost of inspection? Is it based on size, or is it a fixed rate?
It's just based on man hours. It's like $175, $150. Quote me on that, but it's within a few $100s. And then the third party, we use Stewart and Associates. They're the inspection outfit out of Indianapolis, and they're the ones that either give it a pass or fail score, and they have a small charge as well. I think theirs is right in there, a couple $100, and then there's the state certificate. I think that cost us right around $75.
So it's $500-600 per car.
Probably that, yes.
I'm guessing. I'm not holding to this. Yeah. How many total do we have in the organization?
We've got 24, 25 elevators.
And you said that the liability is shared due to the in the case of failure. Is that correct?
Yes.
50-50, or do we know that?
I don't know that.
If I may, Chairman Barnett,
Please.
I'm not a lawyer, and I would prefer if Mr. Spanos knows to define what liability means in this area, because we were not prepared as a team to bring forth particulars on this, and I just want to make sure that we're talking about the kinds of liabilities perhaps that Member Woolrab was alluding to from the discussion last night, and maybe we're not. So I just want to tread cautiously in our discussion, especially since we're alluding to a contractor that we work with, and we didn't come here prepared to have them here to talk about what they do for us as well. No offense to Mr. Doherty, because he explains all of these things to me in detail in our check-ins. So thank you for allowing me that pause, Chairman Barnett.
Sure. Well, I mean, maybe Mr. Spanos, if I may, before you chime in, I think this is a good discussion, and we're asking good questions, rather than putting. I think the answer to some of these questions are going to be a little thick, right? And rather than putting staff in a place where they're trying to pull things off the top of their head to address some of these, maybe if there's no objection from the committee, maybe we could just sort of step back and move on to the next agenda item. Let staff look into some of these issues and get back to the committee, certainly at our next meeting for sure. If that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if we are getting down a different direction than we kind of all intended.
Yeah, but good discussion though. Yeah, appreciate all the questions from folks, and it's certainly appropriate to want to look into some of these things. Any other questions for Mr. Doherty about his report that he brought forward? Okay, very good, Mr. Doherty. Thank you again for your time and bringing these items forward for us to keep informed about. Oh, I'm sorry. Member Thompson, my apologies.
That's okay. I just he said one crashed. It was my understanding that they had safeties in them so that they. Are you saying that fell from floor to floor, or?
I don't know exactly the details. The load test, I don't know how many floors they go up or anything like that, but there's what they call protection. There's bollards at the bottom of the pit that keeps the elevator intact, doesn't let it just go down and crash on concrete. These are a spring loaded or a hydraulic loaded device. I didn't gather a whole lot more details from the technician that day, other than we heard an unusual noise. And when they checked in with me, that at the end of the day, I asked what was going on with that particular elevator, and that was this term. He used the word crash. Maybe I should have investigated a little bit more, but they assured me everything was okay. And then within a couple of days, it was not. The elevator was down. We called it in as we normally do. They came in, they found bent and raveled parts, and it was the control cable that had jumped off the shiv, got tangled up. Now, what happened during the load test, I don't exactly know.
First, Member Wachinski, I saw your hand flailing around to get my attention from Member Thompson, so thank you very much. Appreciate you pointing out that he had his hand up. Vice Chairwoman Woolrab.
Is it possible for us to see the report? That I assume there was a report written on this, Mr. Doherty. I mean, can we see it? Get a hold of it?
Sure, it's just an inspection report, and they check off everything, and at the end of it, they say fail. They say fix, repair the governor cables, and then re-inspect. But sure, I can provide that document. Not a problem.
Would you please? I'm just curious to see what it says.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Doherty? Member Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Doherty, on the point of storage, are we looking at renting storage space from maybe the city, or what's our long-term solution there?
Good question. We've got, the city has offered us they have a metal building underneath the Lincoln parking deck that they are going to move down to their main headquarters, and they've offered that spot to us. Granted, they have a utility vehicle in there now, a little Kubota side-by-side vehicle with a snow brush and a plow on the front of it. That would help us out tremendously. That's about the volume of equipment we have sitting outdoors at this point. Everything else is in the Sallyport, kind of crammed together. But yes, we're expanding as we get more equipment and more property to take care of. There is that need. We are working our people pretty hard as far as going through the organization of the spare parts that were left from the construction annex, and they were literally scattered everywhere, and we're compiling all those parts in the penthouse. Not a tremendous amount of weight. We've got them all spread out, but so that's taking care of some of our storage issues, but it's not practical to take the backhoe to the penthouse and the mowing deck and some of those items that we've got sitting outside. So
Thank you.
That's our immediate need. Whether we rent, beg, borrow, whatever.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Doherty? All right. Very good. Mr. Doherty, thank you very much. Appreciate your time with us tonight.
You're welcome, sir.
Administrator Rodriguez, welcome.
Hello.
Glad to have you here as always.
Thank you. Did you want me to proceed, or I didn't know?
Well, you've got item 4C 1A, request approval of the amended third capital improvement agreement with the Public Building Commission. This is for the museum roof project, and the floor is yours.
Yes. Just simply stated, we forecasted that this would come to your table for our recommended review and approval, and it signifies this next step in the monies that we are borrowing from the PBC to complete our commitment to the roofing project. The first amended lease, as you recall, and is in my memo, I believe, was to represent the Charnett and Associates architectural work. and the planning to do the RFP. This actually represents the work that will be done and the cost therein for the rough.
Any questions for Mr. Administrator Rodriguez? Okay, seeing none, would entertain a motion from the committee for item 4C, 1A. Member Thompson, second by Vice Chairwoman Woolrab. Questions or discussions on the motion? All right, seeing none, Ms. Morlock, please call the roll. The chair will vote.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Wentz,
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yeah.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Wachinski,
Yes.
Chairman Barnett.
Yes. Thank you all. Motion passes unanimously. Administrator Rodriguez, I'll give you the floor back so you can keep rolling through your items for information.
Well, thank you, Chairman Barnett. Next in line is just a for your information report on recent employment activities, and I can answer any questions if you have them. I'll keep it moving along then, if you don't mind.
Please.
Next, yes, thank you, Chairman. Next in line to discuss, I give Chairman Barnett the credit for helping county administration and our department heads stick to a schedule of things that we will bring to you throughout the year. And this is representative, this next piece, our 2020 budget review. I'm not a big reader to folks. We did put a memo here in the packet that summarizes the shape that we're in these particular departments. And I know that you guys always ask great questions. And so I am available to answer those, or Ms. Dreyer or Ms. Taylor are also in the government center and could expound if you have particular questions about our 2020 year in review memo. So I'll leave it at that and you can ask questions.
Well, if I could just say real quick, this is something, we approve the budget every year, right, for the departments that report up to us, and then we don't ever really talk about the budget or look at it again until the next year it comes back forward for approval, which I've always thought was kind of odd. So in putting together our annual calendar for the year and working with administration to develop that, this is something that we wanted to plan to do every quarter with this committee, was to bring forward just at least some high-level budget reports to keep all of you informed and aware of what's going on. This particular one, of course, is for the last quarter of last year. So just wanted to, I guess, state that for anyone in the public who may be watching, and also just a good reminder for the committee. So any questions on the budget reports that are before you? All right, well, very good. Administrator Rodriguez, is there anything else you wanted to share with the committee this evening?
No, nothing else. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members.
Okay. All right, item 5 on the agenda, any other business or communication to come before the committee? Member Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to bring a concern of mine to the committee's attention and staff's attention about the proposed project at the Fairview complex, specifically the road intersection with West Summit Street and Business 51 or Main Street. I guess my initial concern is construction traffic in that intersection. I know we haven't got there yet. That intersection essentially functions as a T intersection as it is now. It's a pretty difficult, scary, dangerous intersection as it is. I don't think it's an accident hotspot. But when and if this project is complete, we're essentially turning a T intersection into a four-way intersection that is uncontrolled on two pretty heavily trafficked sides, mind you. And I was wondering if the county staff had any interactions with the town or the state about possibly doing a study to reconfigure this intersection, or if that had even crossed their minds.
If I may, Chairman?
Please.
Safety always crosses our minds. We actually started conversations with the potential builders, even about safety of the people that wait at the bus stop there on the side where I'm not as articulate about road language, but where people stand to get on the bus right in front of the nursing home. And so I do speak with the town about this project, really with city manager of the town, Pam Reese. And it would be our hope that as this goes along and town staff analyze all the moving parts of this, that we do make that part of our conversation. So I'm going to note that. It isn't something that we've actively thought about, because I think we're trying to take this in steps, Member Smith, as well. We are hopeful that all of the applications that LIUNA has put in are going to be approved, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves as well. So I think that's a good piece to add into our project plan, and we'll definitely make it a consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other business or communication? Vice Chairwoman Woolrab.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I seem to be doing a lot of talking tonight.
That's okay.
This question, I think I would direct it to probably Mr. Spanos or the Administrator Rodriguez. Given what we heard in Finance Committee last night, which was a large increase to some of our insurance due to the, I guess, the past and the fear of the insurance company that there may be civil unrest. That's one thing that's driving our insurance costs up. And I'm just wondering whether our carrier might have somebody who could work with us to ensure that we have done whatever's possible to, or reasonable anyway, to ensure that our buildings are secure, or whatever their concerns are, that we could, stave off some of the potential for increases in the future years. Thanks.
Mr. Spanos,
Yeah, I can answer that. First of all, I don't know that that's an element that goes into the consideration as far as whether the buildings are safe or not. I think it's a nationwide situation involving both the police matters and some of the other, as I kind of characterized it in finance, the civil unrest. To the extent that something like that is an element that might cause an increase in our insurance, it's certainly something we could talk to them about. But to my understanding at this point, I don't think it goes quite to that level, but it's worth asking the question. As I think I told you last night, they've offered a number of options to consider with respect to risk management. Some of them may be applicable to our situation, some of them may not. And I anticipate exploring those with them over the next few months or 6 months or however long it takes to try and implement some of those things, and so that we can always be looking to reduce our premium, reduce our risk, and hopefully have the underwriters recognize that and reduce the premium.
Thank you, Mr. Spanos. I know that most of them wasn't directed at buildings per se, but since we're in property, whether there's something that we could do to make our property more secure. Thanks.
It's a good question, a good thought, and I think it's something that we will be considering as we go forward. Whatever options that come up, I'm sure we'll consider.
any other business or communications from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you all for your time and for your service to the county and the folks who live here. This committee is adjourned. Everyone have a good night.